Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the PE Huddle. It's so good to see you. I'm sitting here in sunny Arizona, and the temperature's warming up already, and we're not ready for that. We're well into February, and spring's around the corner, but it's tomorrow's supposed to be 85 degrees. And but I know we'll be seeing the end of spring soon, and today we're going to talk about securing funding for your program, and with the hope that we leave many of you with a plan that will help you get some financial support that you so richly deserve. As most of you know, the PE Huddle is sponsored and supported by Gopher, the leader in quality physical education, athletics, and fitness equipment. Gopher uploads the PE Huddle to their professional development website. And if you want to share it with others, encourage them to access it at pd.gophersport.com. By registering on the website, you can get certificates that are customized with your name and the date so they can be used for continuing education credit. The focus of our huddle today is on empowering physical education by unlocking funding opportunities. And securing funding for your program gives it credibility, and it calls attention to your work ethic. If you don't think funding a quality PE program makes a difference, think with me for a minute. University and college programs have long known that if they don't spend money on facilities, they won't be able to compete and attract quality athletes. So if your program is well equipped, it will quickly show parents that it is a rich environment for their children and a great place for them to go to school. In this day of student recruitment, you can become an asset for recruiting and retain students through your quality PE program. All right, let's meet these two featured speakers today that have been so gracious to come on and help us and talk a bit. Both of them have secured grants, so they have experience in that field, and they're going to share everything they know with you. Amy Hancock has been an elementary physical education teacher at Honey Elementary School in the Lubbock Independent School District since 2005. As a lifelong learner, she's unafraid to venture into unconventional or new sports and activities. Her proactive approach to getting resources to bring her ideas to life include grant writing and donors choose projects, and they've resulted in over $33,000 of funding. Mike Chamberlain is an elementary physical educator and currently coordinator for ISD 196 Rosemount, Apple Valley, and Eagan School District. Mike is the current Vice President-elect of Physical Education for the Minnesota SHAPE Board of Directors. He taught 11 years in a Title I school and is currently in his third year at Diamond Path Elementary School. Mike has received several grants, and he has also planned and directed several fundraisers, including Kids Hearts Challenge, Health Moves Minds, and school fun run events. So with that, I say welcome to Amy and Mike. I appreciate you both taking the time to share your thoughts and ideas. Hello to you both.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's get your vocal cords warmed up a little bit and get you talking to our listeners by telling them, just give me a nutshell version, Amy, of why, what funding has done for you and why you decided to go after it.
So I decided that I wanted to go for funding because I do get money from my school district. I'm fortunate to get some money every year. But what I realized is a lot of the money that I was given, I was spending it on equipment that we wear out all the time, like balls and hula hoops, jump ropes, and things like that. And so if I wanted to get some extra or unique things, I was going to have to find a way to make that happen. And so once I started looking into grant writing and donors choose, then the ball just started rolling and it has kept rolling.
Well, good. And Mike, how about you?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I spent 11 years in a Title I school, and within that school, our IED was quite large, and we were blessed to be able to use that. to purchase lots of different equipment, which was great, but it kind of it narrowed the focus. I was able to replenish whatever we needed, or whatever I used the year before, but I didn't really think outside the box. When I got to here, Diamond Path, big district, our budget is a lot smaller. It's almost non-existent. It's kind of a like need, as needed amount. If you talk, you can sometimes get things approved, or if you talk to PTO, sometimes you can get things approved. And then I started having conversations with other FIA teachers within our district, and some that were Title I within our district, and they applied for a first tee grant, and then they ended up getting all this golf equipment. And then that light bulb just went on about like, there's these companies that are out there, there's these places that are out there that are willing to really invest and grow your program. So that has really been kind of the focus, is to just see what other partnerships you can make with other companies and with other people to help grow your program.
Yeah, well, and you're right. There are a lot of companies out there, and corporations and institutes, all kinds of places that really want to help kids. And it's a natural, but if we don't ask and we don't go after it, that, they never know. And so that sounds good. Well, you were both talking about your budget, and a while back, Gopher, did a study on teachers to see, what they had for budgets, and then I'm going to show you in a minute. But when we look at the first slide, this is just what I want to share with you today. I'd like you to understand the need to go outside to help support your program. We'd like you to leave knowing what some funding sources are, some tips on how to secure them. And then, where do I start? That's always a huge question, is where do I start, and how do I get it? But, it's interesting to take a look at the next slide, and you'll see that, the yearly school budget pays for most of what PE teachers get in their program. 80% of it's paid for through the school budget. But if you look at the median of the budget, it's $750, which means, for a year, there's a lot more. A lot of those schools have less than $750. So what I'm saying to you, and which you probably all know, and you're shaking your head, yeah, is, $500 doesn't buy you much. I mean, you go out after, a set of 30 foam rubber balls, and they're about $20 a pop, and you've spent $600, and your money's all gone. So it doesn't take long to spend $500. And the sad thing is, when you look at this first slide, is that 25% of the teachers are taking money out of their pocket to help supplement their program, and I would guess it's probably even more than that. And teachers may have not reported it, but in the survey, that's what they got. When you look at the next slide as to who applies for grants in a school setting, this was kind of shocking to me, because I sort of expected that, all teachers within the school will go after grants. Not so. PE teachers have to stay on life support by going out and getting grants. 74% of them are going out and seeking grants out of the 800 teachers they surveyed. Classroom teachers, only 8%. Superintendents, 2%. Well, I guess I can't expect a superintendent to go after a grant, but on the other hand, it would seem to me that, we need a little more money in our programs as well. So that's another reason why you have to do it. And then the last slide basically looks at the grant sources that are available. And if there's one thing I would tell you, is if you're just starting, stay close to home for a start. The people that know you are going to be more willing to support you. And there's oftentimes a lot of funding sources nearby who will help you in a small way to get you started. And it's like everything else, once you get over the, what do I want to say, just the reticence to go out and ask somebody to fund your program. And once you get past that, and realize that what you're doing is helping kids, it's not nearly the big deal that you might have thought it was. So um, that just kind of gives you an overview. So you're not alone if you feel like you don't have enough in your budget. Everybody believes that, and that's because it's true. You don't have. So Amy, why don't you get us started here and tell us a little bit about what motivated you get into fundraising and were you successful? Where'd you start? Tell people how you started.
Sure. So several years ago, I noticed a lot of our teachers were getting those smart boards in their classroom. And gosh, it was so easy as compared to the old school overhead projectors. And I kept thinking, gosh, they can show videos up there like so easily. Like, how cool would that be if I could show a video, just show a video to my kids or do a workout with them that you could see, or a slideshow presentation that I could make and show my kids. So um, with the budget money that I got, as I said previously, a lot of my budget money was just spent replacing stuff that we wear out every day. And I knew that the money that I would need to get a TV or a projector in the gym, I was not going to have that money within my budget. And so my very first project was a Donors Choose project. And my colleague, Erica, had funded a project the spring before. And so she said, "Why don't you try it?" I said, "Okay, I'll try it." I was a little skeptical because this was kind of the beginning of my journey of pursuing grants. And so I wrote the project for a TV, and like within a week, it was funded. And so after that, I was like, okay, well, that was cool. What am I going to do next? And so just after getting that TV, I was like, okay, now my program is just it's never going to be the same because now I've realized I can do more for my kids if I just go for it.
Of the things you've asked for, what are you most proud of?
So in May of 2019, I was able to fund 2 water bottle fillers for our school. And it took a while to get them installed. There was just, it was not the easiest installation process for our maintenance guys, but they got them installed in the fall of 2019. And so I was excited. I'm like, hey, we're going to drink more water. We're going to use reusable bottles instead of using the disposable ones. And then COVID hit. And, in the following fall, all of the water fountains were shut down. For our school, we did have in-person school and we were all wearing masks. All the water fountains were shut down, but the bottle fillers weren't. And so what I thought was going to be a super cool thing for our school was ended up being something that we needed. And gosh, it was an amazing thing. And then later on, our PTA generously purchased a couple of more bottle filler fountains. So we have bottle filler fountains all over our school. And it kind of started with me thinking, man, 2 bottle filler fountains, that would be so cool. I've seen them everywhere. We want our kids to drink water. And then COVID just showed that the bottle filler fountain was like the right project at the right time. So that's the one that I'm really most proud of because it didn't just affect my program, it benefited the entire school.
Yeah, yeah. Did you find that when you got a few grants and had a few things, and people saw you bringing in some things and doing the donors choose and that sort of thing, did you get a little attention for that or not?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there are definitely some people who are like, "Man, how did you get that into your gym or whatever?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'll help. I'll happily sit down and talk to you about Donors Choose or other local grants or other things that you can do." But yeah, I definitely did get some attention because people were just curious, like, "How are you getting all of this stuff for your classroom?"
Yeah, nice. Well, Michael, let's circle back to you and let's kind of go through the same thing. How'd you get started? What got you started going at it? Sounded like when you were in the Title I school, you had plenty of money.
Yeah, it was, so I mean, I tell you how it went. It was we had $3,000 a year for FIED and $2,000 a year for recess. and we were responsible for buying for recess at the same time. So what we did, my coworker and I, we took that $5,000 to replace equipment, but then students in that school are receiving for recess equipment brand new it's a year-old equipment. So we were just cycling the equipment just constantly. And I mean, it was great. It was a great situation for that school and that situation, that like how that was set up. But when I came here, I left school for a lot of pretty different reasons, just getting closer to home and whatnot. And, it's actually the district that I grew up in. I love 196, and but when I got to the school and I saw the equipment, I was like, wow, this is like really outdated. Like these balls are. There's like a Sam's Club basketball in our basketball cart. That's the basketball that we're using, that I'm going to be letting. And I'm talking about like going year after year having a brand new Gopher basketball. And some of it is just how things were set up, and the district, we did go through an overhaul, reset. It was really great. I'm our elementary PE coordinator, so I sat down and we divvied out a great deal of money to each of our 19 schools, and did get a reset to fulfill those needs of like getting a set of basketballs. But again, like you said, after you use them, then they start to go away. They start to just the wear and tear, things break, things pop,
Yeah.
Gopher's got a great return policy, but there's just things that happen with wear and tear. But so with this district or in this school, that was kind of my first question. Okay, so what's our like year to year, just to replace what we need to replace? And it's just always been kind of a unknown amount, and
that sometimes that's done on purpose.
Yeah, and some of it's like well, it was like $1 per student, so it's somewhere around there. We have about 700 kids, so I'm thinking, okay, it's about $700. And I will say, my admin has been super supportive. If I go to them and I ask them, and I ask for something, but I have a plan. If I have a plan and I know exactly what we're gonna get, then we can work through that. But it's definitely not clear. You can't like visually plan it out because the funding's not there. You won't be able to be like, okay, so I'm gonna replace the basketballs this year, and then in a couple of years within the funding, I'll be able to replace it later. So initially, I'm kind of just. Initially, I was like, well, I'll do what I can with what I have. I love where I'm at. It's awesome. Love the facility. I actually had grass, where I was before. I was in northeast Minneapolis, and no grass. We had it was renovated warehouse building. So the gym was more of like 2 classrooms put together. So what we didn't have for facilities, we made up with equiment that we couldn't really necessarily use sometimes with the facilities. Here we have incredible facilities, but the equipment sometimes is just kind of how it's gone. But here now, I had a conversation with another FIA teacher who I heard about this first tee golf equipment, and I had heard that he got it for free. And he is a Title I school. We are not technically a Title I school, but I called First Tee Up, had a conversation. We sat down, and he filled out I filled out an application. We went through and had a conversation about why do we want First Tee? Why do we want the golf equipment? And as a avid golfer, and just wanting to expand from outside, like basically the norm of our units, trying to do something else with our students. Through my interest, I filled out the application, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, there's no way we're going to be able to purchase this, because each bag was about $3,500 to $3,500 per bag. Yeah. And he's like, so do you think that your admin will, and I'm like, no, there's just no way. And but he took a chance on me because he saw my passion, and I told him, like, speaking in confidence, but I said, if you could get me a bag, I'll show you what I can do with it. And he's like, well, maybe there's some schools that haven't been using the bags. Maybe I can get you a used bag. I'm just like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, equipment is equipment at this point. So I filled out the application, and he took it. And a week later, he sends me an email. He goes, you've been approved. Your bags will be coming. And I'm like, I'm thinking it's still the used stuff. And I'm still really thrilled to get that email. But no, in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks later, I had 2 brand new bags outside my office. And I'm overjoyed. And like, it was just like, oh my gosh. And then after me doing that, there are other FIA teachers that are within our district that have also reached out. And I do some things on Twitter. And so I shared on Twitter that I did with this stuff with First Tee. And there was a guy up in northern Minnesota who he's like, how do I get this? How do I get this First Tee equipment? And he filled it out. He actually ran into me at the MinShape conference and said, hey, you're Mike. I did that First Tee. So it's that connection piece, and it's all about just asking. So it's that, like, you have to be able to take a risk and put yourself out there, but have a purpose behind it. And I, like Amy said, once you start that ball rolling, it's kind of like, what else is out there? Like, what else can we do for our program?
Well, one of the morals of that story is, and I don't think I have to ask you which one you're proudest of, because you talked about it for a long time.
Well, I'm proud.
So, I don't think I'll go down that road. You made that. People talk about what they're proud of. Yeah. And I know the First Tee program well because we've worked with it in our schools here, and it is a wonderful thing to get. But I think the moral of the story is you can't go in and sit down and take no for an answer and then walk out and never go back again. The people that get it keep asking, look, you negotiated other ways, maybe give me one and I'll try it here. And that's a lot of it. And by the way, it was somewhat local as well. So, there's some hidden gems in what was being said there by both Mike and Amy. So I like that. Well, these two presenters were willing to do a handout on funding sources that will help you a little bit. Amy's has QR codes in it, and Mike's has links in it. So you're going to leave, when you download those handouts, you're going to have something you can use. So, Amy, why don't we take a look at your handout on screen, and why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. So I decided to put some QR codes in there because, with COVID, a lot of restaurants started going to QR codes. Use your phone, scan the QR code. So most people, I would say, have a smartphone and have the ability to scan the QR code. So if you're trying to, let's say, raise money or something, taking whatever link you want and making a bit.ly shorter link or a QR code is a great way to get that message across very quickly. And people are very aware of QR codes and they know exactly how to use them. So I had put a few things, some organizations in terms of finding grants. The Spark Grant Finder, Spark is a physical education curriculum that is offered by Gopher. They have a grant finder on their website, and you can narrow down the grants based off of your state. And because there will be some states where a certain grant is offered, but it's not offered somewhere else. I got a grant from the Oliver Foundation that's based out of Houston, and it's for Texas teachers only. And so if you go to that grant finder, that's just going to give you PE grants, like right off the bat. The SNS Worldwide, they also have a grant. I don't think I have a link on that one, but SNS Worldwide also sells a variety of educational supplies, and they have a grant finder, and you can narrow it down based off of your criteria. So you can be like, well, I'm a PE teacher, I'm a health teacher, help me find grants for that, and you can narrow it down by state. And then I'd also put Shape America, the Tommy Wilson Memorial Grant. So he was a child that was born with some physical disabilities. And so if you have children in your school with physical disabilities, you can apply for a grant through Shape America to get equipment that will assist that child in being successful in whatever that looks like for them. And then Got Sneakers is something that our PTA president found this year. You literally run a sneaker drive and they will pay you per pair of sneakers that you turn in. And if the sneakers that you turn in are in good enough shape, then they can be sold on a secondary market for people who need affordable shoes. Or if your shoes are really worn out, not usable, then they're recycled. So it keeps shoes out of landfills and you get paid. And so right now our Got Sneakers fundraiser for our PTA is yielded about 40 to 50 bucks. But they haven't really done a big push on it. And my school only has about 400 kids in it. So if people are teaching at a larger school, they could probably make significantly more, especially if they advertised and put it out there. And so that's a good way.
How many pairs of sneakers do you have to get in to make 40, 50 bucks?
I want to say she said they were paid maybe between like 50 cents and a dollar per pair. I think it depends on if it's a pair that's either going to be recycled or a pair that's going to be resold. But they haven't really made like a big push on this campaign. But I mean, still $40 to $50 is money that you didn't have when you started. And it's a way to generate funds without directly asking people for money. Yeah. Because I think sometimes when your schools do a lot of fundraisers, parents kind of feel a little fundraised to death a little bit. And so if you can find some unique ways to get some funding, then you might have a little bit more of a more positive reception from your parents. And then
I think that's a really sensitive point. Parents do get tired of being dinged all the time, particularly if they're in a lower income area.
Sure.
It gets painful after a while when somebody keeps asking you. So that's the beauty of going to some of these outside agencies and getting some of your stuff through that. I like that. Go ahead.
Well,
sure.
There are many schools that don't allow you to do the fundraisers. So because of those low income. So then if you kind of feel stuck, and so, but you're not stuck if you can look into these areas and you can just ask. So it's worth asking.
Sure.
Yeah, great.
And
absolutely.
Mike, you probably teaching at a Title I school, you probably dealt with that a little bit, where you probably had some families who were probably just struggling to pay bills, to put food on the table. And so some of the traditional school fundraisers may or may not have been very successful. So thinking outside the box can definitely definitely help.
Let me ask you a question, Amy. And this is off the top of your head, so
sure.
If you can't answer it, don't worry about it. But if you were, what kind of keywords would you said, oh yeah, I did just a tip of the iceberg when it comes to funding. A simple online search will do it. Well, the keywords have a whole lot to do with the online search. So what kind of, how would you tell these people to go out and search? What would you tell them to search for?
So, I mean, go to, the grant finder sites that I had posted, because I know for a fact that they have physical education grants on them. And honestly, Google's our best friend. You can Google physical education grants. Like, you just have to be willing to, put yourself out there and to look for it. Like, nobody's going to come banging on your door and say, hey, do you want to write a grant for your after school program so that you can get some stuff for it? You just have to be willing to go look. And luckily, with the power of technology, it's actually pretty easy to dig around through the internet, through Google, through other there's many grant sites that are out there.
Mike and
I just saw that.
Mike and Amy, I wanted to ask you, we had a question come in from our audience. People wondering if these grants are available for after school programs as well. Mike, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I would say, of course, as long as you have a purpose and you explain why, you can seek direct funding. But one of the companies that I reached out to, Fit America, they specifically ask you, like, the time that you're going to do, like the duration of your period of time that you're going to do this event or activity, how many students that you're going to be that are going to be involved, how soon can you get involved. So Fit America's got tennis stuff, they got golf stuff, they got pickleball, but there's a running program that's all set up with them. But when you reach out to them, they can they can help that after school program.
So the short answer for you is yes. Would the short answer be yes for you as well, Amy?
Yes, so I think it would kind of depend on, you'd really have to look at the stipulations of the grants, because if whoever's running the after school program is not an educator, then some of these grant opportunities that are specifically focused towards teachers, they may not be eligible for them. So, I mean, in all honesty, I'm not involved in our school's after school care program. But, if Mike says that it's out there, then I'm sure that there are plenty of things out there so that when those kids are after school and they're hanging around, they have things that they can do to keep them engaged and active.
And when we get to Mike's handout, he may have a little more to enrich that on if he wants. You had a video on Donors Choose you wanted us to take a look at. So,
sure.
Michael, if you could play that video for us.
When I came into this classroom, we had 30 desks, 30 chairs, a teacher's desk. That was it.
Public school teachers spent $1.6 billion of their own money on classroom supplies.
I was a history teacher at a high school in the Bronx for 5 years, and it just occurred to me that there were people out there who'd want to help teachers like us if they could see exactly where their money was going.
Donors Choose is the greatest, simplest idea. Teachers go to the website and put up materials they need for something they want to teach. You, as a donor, choose a school, choose a project.
And you can fund part of a project or the entire project. It is magic.
Well, with Donors Choose, you know exactly where it goes. Every dime goes exactly to that project, and you hear directly back from those kids and from that teacher.
I use it for a lot of English and reading. But people also do field trips or a special project that maybe they need a piece of technology for.
We're moving into the age of technology, and the only way my kids really get those experiences are really at school.
To have someone out there give them books, the feeling that they get, they feel like somebody in the city cares, somebody in this country cares about me and my future and my potential, and that's a powerful thing.
Support a classroom, build a future.
Perfect. Amy, would you like to say anything about the video?
Sure. So if people have not heard of Donors Choose, think of it as like a GoFundMe for teachers, but instead of you asking directly for money straight up, people can donate money towards a project that you want. So let's say you wanted some new basketballs, like Mike was mentioning earlier. You post a project that has to be at least $100 or more of stuff. And then people donate money towards that project to Donors Choose. Then Donors Choose orders the supplies, ships them all to your door. And so there's no there's no ifs, ands, or buts on if you donate money to Donors Choose, where the money is going to go. It's going to the project that you chose to fund. And so the cool thing is they have something called the thank you package. And so after you get a project funded, then you have to submit pictures of your children, your students, using whatever the project entailed. And then if donor donates more than $50, they can choose to receive handwritten notes from the kids thanking them for their donation. So I think the thank you package on Donors Choose is kind of the special sauce, because only the donors who gave to the project will see the handwritten notes if they ask them, the pictures of the kids using it. So like you see where the stuff went, you see the kids using it, having fun, and then those donors are more likely to come back and donate to another project later, because they see Coach Hancock requested this and they all used it. Now she's asking for another project. Oh, I'll donate to that too. And so
can the donors use that as a tax write-off?
Yes, sir. Sure can. Sure can. They can absolutely use it as a tax write-off. And then just, a couple more things, you know, if a teacher wants to pursue Donors Choose, first off, you need to be a public school or a charter school teacher. And if you are like a private school teacher, I believe there's, other sites called Adopt a Classroom or, Amazon wish lists. There are ways for you to get things if you are not able to go through the Donors Choose route. But I think that people need to understand that if you post a project on Donors Choose, uh, there's not always going to be somebody who's going to magically come and fund the entire thing for you. I will say that recently Panda Cares, which is the Philip, Philip, the donation organization of Panda Express, Panda Cares, they came and actually funded an entire project for me for about $400. That has not happened very often. And so if you post a project, you need to know that you need to put it out there. You need to see if there are ways that you can earn Donors Choose gift cards, which you can. Sometimes the website will have matches where if a friend donates $25 to your project, Donors Choose will match that amount. And so then you can fund your project a lot faster. And so I would say, if anybody wants to go the Donors Choose route, just be willing to put yourself out there, absolutely, and just know that you can't just post it and somebody's just going to magically fund it. Like you're going to you're going to need to put in a little bit of work, a little bit of time, and bump some elbows with some people and say, hey, you want to help me out on this, and build relationships with people. Because if you have some donors that you know personally, you build relationships with them, they will come back and donate to future projects. I have a few families that will donate to any project that I post. They will donate.
Now, what if you ask for $500 and 250 comes in? Can you use that 250 towards your project?
So no, you can't. So with Donors Choose, you have 3 months to fund the entire project, the entire cost of the project. And if you don't, then the funds that were donated go back to the donors. The donors can decide if they want to take that money back to their account, or if they want to give the money to you as the teacher for a credit so that you could repost the project or maybe post another project. So it's kind of an all or nothing thing. You're either going to fund the whole thing or you're not. And so for a lot of people, if you post your first project, don't post like a $3,000 project. Post a project under $500 and the odds of it getting funding go up significantly if you just keep it small. Or if you have a larger project, break it up into several smaller projects so then you can fund them one little bit at a time.
Those are that's all good advice. Mike, have you applied for any Donors Choose?
No, I haven't. I've heard of it, but
and why haven't you, Michael?
The biggest, yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, I think the biggest thing, it goes back to one of the questions that I have on my handout, is like when it comes down to the projects, like you need to know, like there has to be a purpose behind it, and you have to beyond like just getting basketballs and getting the normal equipment. It's hard to like. It's nice to know that you even said in there at the beginning when you were talking about if you needed basketballs, you said it for $100. I think it's nice to know that when you shared that you can even ask for smaller amounts. Sometimes when people say grants, they're like, boom, like I need a project, boom, and I need to do a lot of money for this, a lot of money for this. And really, like, if you can that there's opportunities that you can pinpoint, what you want or what you need instead. And then the purpose behind what you need. I think I guess I've been clouded in more of what is the big project that the grant that I've pursued or that I want to pursue and continue to pursue is getting archery in the schools and fishing in the schools. But those are big those are big grants. And that's,
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, let's
Yeah.
when we get to your handout, and we're going right there.
Okay.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about some of that. I was just curious whether you had
it's really,
had applied for any. Now, how many have not come to fruition with you, Amy? How many have you asked for, and how many have you gotten?
I've funded 38 projects, and overall, I have funded every project that I've ever posted. There was one that I went ahead and took down because I had posted it and just the
Well,
timing.
that's all right. We got to move on here
Yeah.
because I don't want to get into that.
Sure.
We're getting into the weeds now. But Mike, Mike's got a really neat handout here, and let's put Mike's handout up on screen. We'll give the audience a few seconds to look at it, and then Mike, if you'll speak to it, because you've got a lot of information on one sheet. That was nicely done.
Yeah, so on the top, I just laid it out in some different categories, different areas. So at the top, I think your most important things are those 5 questions. And you can ask for money, but why are you asking money is kind of the big thing. Other than we all need money, yes, we all need it, but having that purpose behind it, those 5 questions will help you narrow your focus, but then your purpose ready for any discussion or any grant that you're going to write. You can see the sites for locating and planning grants. Amy, she said several of them, and really just to kind of skim over that, because Amy did touch on some of those. Really, all of those.
Amy, you gave them a lot there, Mike. Are there any places where you tell beginners to start?
Well, I would say the Spark Grant Finder really narrows it down. That's the one that I've used and looked at and explored the most. Active Schools is also pretty good, and then Shape America has some laid out. But Spark, the Grant Finder, is the number one that I would look at. I did use Google to look at if there were other ones, and I threw on another link in that PLT4M. It is another site that's got some laid out that you can look into. There's categories that you can kind of figure out what's your focus. And then the NFL Play 60, there's some different things within that. That's why a lot of FIA teachers are familiar with the least flag in the school, where you can reach out to. Maybe you're not, maybe they aren't familiar with it, but you can reach out to the NFL and get free flag belts, and you get 12 footballs, and you get a whole curriculum, and it's all for free. And that's over in the companies to partner with. It's really simple. You literally just put in your name that you're a FIA teacher at your school and how many people, and you can get that. There was a question about after school programming. That would be one to totally tap into. After school programming with flags, there's so many different activities you can do with flags, not just flag football, but that would be an easy one to tap into. But within that NFL Play 60, you can click into that link, and there are grants within there that they do other things than just flag and within football related. There's health related, there's nutrition curriculum that's based into that site that when I was digging around. If you move over into the companies to partner with for equipment, these are some partial grants. Like All Kids Bikes is one that I would love to get to. That I have not been able to get that one, but that is one that I would love to get to eventually. Selkirk, that one, they have that. It's a current one. It's that's for pickleball paddles. If you reach out to them, they will send you 4 paddles, a bag, and about 12 balls. But then it's only 4 paddles. Yes, I know it's 4 paddles. You can use them as a station, but you can also reach out to them or within getting that mini little grant is what they even call it, is they give you a discount on purchasing pickleball paddles through Selkirk. And Selkirk paddles are anywhere between $80 to $200. They're really nice paddles. And there's a neighboring school that saw and heard that I got this little mini grant for 4 paddles, and they reached out to them, and it's a high school. They got the 4, and then they, as a school, were able to purchase a class set at a discounted amount. So even just spreading the word, they were able to at a high school level. Fun at Bat is for baseball. That's another very similar to Flag in the School. Reach out to them. They'll give you baseball equipment. You can use for kickball and various things. First Tee, I did touch on. If you missed it at the beginning, very passionate about it. Love it. It's awesome. Great program. Great, equipment. It's great. Fit America, I did talk about that a little bit as well. There's different areas under, I would say, their umbrella of Fit America with the different equipment that you can reach out to. But within Fit America, they just have, again, just fill it out. Just fill out the forms. Tell them what you want to do with it. They send you the equipment, and then you can start using it. And
Let me ask you, because you just hit on it. You said filling out the form. How long is it going to take these guys to fill out a form and apply for this? In most cases, I mean, I know there's some that are longer than others, but by and large, give us an idea.
So first Tee, I would say, All Kids Bike and IHT, the heart tracking, heart monitors, like those two are bigger ones. That one's going to take a bigger process. You're going to need a partner with a grant to purchase some of that equipment. But the Selkirk, Fit America, Fun and Bat, and Flag in School, you could do all four of those in like 30 minutes or less. You just click on the site, go in, fill it out, have a purpose for why you're going to use it, because you want to write that in there. But it's limited for your characters on what you're supposed to do. So they don't even want you to really write like a page long. They really just want to know. It's more of a check of the box. Are you really a Phi Ed teacher? Oh, here's your equipment. And First Tee, that one is similar, but it sets up a conversation. So reach out to your local First Tee. There are state level ones all over. And when you contact them, they will sit down and have a meeting. You'll talk about it. They'll see what kind of partnership you can do, whether it's fully funded or whether it's partially funded. But that one it's more of a longer process. But again, that first initial contact doesn't take very long.
But when we get right down to it, I mean, none of these really take a really long time. In fact, I've found the same thing as you. They try to limit it because they know teachers are busy, and they know teachers don't like to do that kind of stuff. But it doesn't take that long. So let's move on here a bit and answer a couple talk about a couple of points. Why don't teachers reach out and apply for this stuff? It sounds like it's out there for the taking. If I listen to you two, you're telling me, donors choose out there, put your hand out and here it comes. How long, why isn't it happening?
Do you want to go first, Amy, or?
No, you go for it. You go for it.
I mean, my gut is that, again, it falls down to, why do we want, yes, we want to replace our equipment. And sometimes that seems so simple and necessary, and not it seems so hard to accomplish, but yet, because it's such a small amount. And again, with that, donors choose that's a big help in the smaller little checks and just fulfilling some of those needs. I did have some fundraiser opportunities. I know we kind of tapped a little bit on maybe not touching on those, but they do fulfill some of those needs on a minor level. But I think when it comes down to fulfilling and reaching out to grants, it's, yes, I want to. Time is, yes, an issue, but really it's like, what are we going to do with that equipment? Because sometimes it's like, how do we just, as a Phi Ed teacher, sometimes it's hard for us to, it's like, how do I justify getting basketballs? No, you need basketballs. You need them you need your equipment. No, it's part of it. It's okay to put that down on paper, that's what you need to teach your, instead of just asking, because I think people are afraid to have the conversations with the public because of the perceptions of what Phi Ed is. And I think we need to explain what Phi Ed is and what we're going to do with it, instead of just I need basketballs for the students to play. No, I need to use them as teaching materials. And we're going to teach skills. We're going to increase physical activity within these. With these tools, I can teach a lot of different skills.
Amy, you want to weigh in on that?
Sure. So, I would say several years ago, I was like, no, I'm good. Like, I've got everything that I need. And then when I got online, I just saw that some of these amazing teachers did some amazing things. And I was like, well, I don't want to be, and I don't want to use the word complacent, but like in my personal opinion, I think I was just being complacent and thinking like, I'll just, I'm good to go. And, I'll just kind of do the same things every year. And so I was like, well, what if I try to do like some new things? So by pursuing grant writing, I've been able to do new things every year with the kids. I'm not doing the same. Yeah, I do similar units every year. I follow my Spark curriculum, but I try to add in new units every year just to keep it fresh for the kids, just to keep it fresh for me. And so maybe some people just feel like that they're okay where they are. And if you're okay where you are, that's okay. That's
Well,
okay.
I'm not sure it is. Oh, okay. I'm going to stop you there because I think
I'm going to disagree with that too. I mean, in some ways, I agree. In some ways, I hear what you're saying though. Like, there's like this kind of that rhythm, like first tee golf equipment. Some people are like, nope, not going to touch it. And I understand that like pickleball or tennis, not going to touch it. Like all these different things, but in some ways, there are ways to think outside the box, and we need to expose our students to different things and teach differently. So,
yeah, and I'm going to have my say here. That's not thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
That's offering a program that is rich, that offers some lifetime activities, that offers things that maybe kids could use for the rest of their life. It's not okay to play basketball and to say I have 20 basketballs, so I don't need any equipment because I play basketball 180 days a year. And it happens, okay? So, it's the same thing. So, part of it is to enrich the quality of your program. Now, if you take that equipment and you put it on the shelf, I'll never forget a PEP grant that someone in Arizona got, and I won't mention any names, but I went down and I said, well, I was going to give these teachers a workshop, and I said, could I use your locker room? I want to go in there and go to the bathroom. And they said, sure. I went in there. They had the thing complete. They couldn't even use this locker room because they had it filled with equipment that had been sitting there for a year that they purchased through the PEP grant. But they were going to use the same old equipment, the basketballs and the softballs and the same thing. So it's not okay to say I'm going to sit there and stay the same. That just, as you can tell, that riles me a bit because it's not okay to stay the same. It's part of life is becoming the best you can be within your own realm. You don't have to be the best teacher in the world. You don't have to be the greatest of all times. But you have to be the best you can be and reach out. And one of the ways you do that, equipment is one way of enriching your program. Is it the only way? Certainly not. Becoming a better emotional teacher and working better with kids and getting the most out of kids is a huge part of teaching. But another part is you got to have equipment just like you need math books, etc. I sound like I'm shilling here for Gopher and trying to sell equipment, but I'm not. The point is that you got to have first tee. My wife has 60 elementary schools, and she has first tee equipment in every one of them. She has bowling in all of them. It's the richness of a program, and to say that well, I guess it's okay. It's not okay. You guys just haven't done it. Yeah, you're busy, but start in a little way. Go out there and start with a small grant and get one, and get some things you need. And the other thing we really haven't covered, and we're getting near the end here, and so Michael, you and Amy are going to be able to tell. I'm going to get just about the last word here. But the other thing is that it raises your esteem within the building. Your principal and fellow teachers are impressed when you go out of the way and you go out and make an effort to enrich your program and add to it and to enrich it on your own merits and that sort of thing, it gives you more status and more prestige among those. And you look like a teacher who's not standing still. And, there are a lot of people that think PE teacher taught 20 years has 1 year of experience because they do the same thing every friggin' year. So, this equipment thing is part of the whole balance of becoming a great teacher and becoming, having a good program and caring enough. And I think that's a big part of what funding does. It says, I care. And I care that my students get the best possible experience. So now I'm going to give you the last word quickly, Michael, and then I'll give you one, Amy, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yeah, we had a script and we had some questions that were popped. And one of the questions was, if I show that I fund my program through other sources, the school will never fund me. What say you? And I want to touch that question a little bit.
Good.
Because to some extent, sure. Yep, you're right. It's possible. But at the same time, what I've been able to bring into my school, like what you said, when all of a sudden the first tee stuff comes in, and then all of a sudden this pickleball stuff comes in, and then all of a sudden the flag stuff comes in, and the office is like, you have another package. You have another package.
Same.
You have another package. You have another package. And they're kind of asking, where did you get all this stuff? And they're like thrilled. And in some ways, it's like I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And I've been doing these things within our school. And then I can then go to my admin and I can ask, hey, I really do need this also. And they know that I've been doing my work to reach out for other things. So because I've done this, they are now like, oh, well, we can do this part of it. And so then there's a big collaboration piece that's huge. There's also things that I've done within for recess. And because of what I've done for recess, there's this piece of collaboration. So yes, your funding, it's possible, but at the same time, if your admin's on board and you're on board and you're showing there's an effort on both sides, it can be really collaborative.
I really agree. Amy, you don't have to pick up on that theme. You can have the last word on anything you want.
Sure. So I would say, just for some tips, with pursuing grant writing, I wrote down a couple things. I put proofread everything that you're doing. And I use Google Chrome as my search engine, and I have an extension called Read Aloud. And so it will read out loud everything that I've written. And so I've been able to catch grammatical errors or awkward wording or stuff. And it helps me make sure that everything sounds good, because I don't want to go for a grant and then just kind of write it halfway, lackadaisically, and then just get it denied because it just looks sloppy. I also put that, have a friend who's really good at grammatical stuff. Read through the grant. My colleague Carla has a PhD in English. She reads through, catches grammatical things and suggestions. And I would say understand the audience that you're writing to if you are going for a grant. As when you write a Donors Choose project, you're not writing a project towards a group of panelists. You're writing a project towards everyday people that are just like you. They could be your friends, family members, school families, whatever. So you need to have a good voice in your writing. When I write with Donors Choose, my voice is going to be a little bit more casual because I'm not a formal or very stuffy person. But if I'm writing towards like a formal grant panel, I would say my writing tone is definitely more professional. And so when you choose to write things, I would say, if you're going to invest the time to write something, pursue something, do it well. Do it well.
Yeah, at the least, have somebody else read it, or else use you gave them some good hints there. I do want to say this. The only way you learn to write is to write. You can't learn to shoot baskets without shooting baskets. And when I started writing, I didn't know a darn thing about it. And 60 textbooks later and 150 research articles later, I can write, and I can write well. But when I started, I wasn't worth a darn. And if I hadn't started, because I was concerned about my writing. I would have never gone anywhere. So don't let your lack of confidence in writing get in your way. Just do some of the things. Amy gave you some great tips here, and get them to help you. So, but you got to start. And you may fall flat on your face. So what? Don't you teach that in PE and in coaching? You know, you fall down, you get up, and you're stronger than you were when you went down the first time. So Amy and Mike, thanks so much. I appreciate that you were willing to participate and share your handout and all that. And that'll be posted so you can all download it. I encourage all of you to seek funding for equipment that you feel will improve your program and make it more educational and exciting for students. New activities and equipment always create renewed student motivation. Novelty is huge. It's the greatest motivator there is for people of all ages. If you don't believe it, buy a new car and see if you're motivated to drive. That in turn will excite you and keep your program on the cutting edge. Go for it. Take a chance. I know it's a little bit extra, but you know what? The people who do the most for their kids usually go a little extra mile. And Mike and Amy, love the spirit of what we talked about. You both have done well. You're not knocking off $1 million grants. You're getting these little chunks of a little bit at a time, bringing it in, working on places where you can get started. And you know, if $1 million drops on your desk, well, fine. I don't know how the hell you'll spend it or where you'll put the equipment, but enjoy it. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys. Take good care.